Okay, one of the big storylines for this week's games is what to do if the starting quarterback doesn't play. So when you look at Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, and Matthew Stafford, and it seems like just based on practicing, Kyler Murray has the best chance to play right now because Allen and Stafford are not practicing. Let's talk about Diggs, Hopkins, and Kupp, three of the best wide receivers in fantasy football. If their quarterbacks do not play, where would you rank Diggs, Hopkins, and Kupp, Dave?
They will all remain top 15 fantasy receivers in full PPR because I think they will all still get a lot of targets. They just won't be the same types of targets, certainly not as many targets of 16 plus air yards, something like that. I said on HQ yesterday to Jamie, you remember that game that Cooper Kupp had where he had 19 targets and 14 catches and didn't even average 10 yards per catch? That's what I think you'll get out of Cooper Kupp this week, which is still amazing in PPR. And of course, you'll take that in non-PPR. I think you'll see lesser versions of that from Diggs and Hopkins. At least in the case of Diggs, he's playing with a quarterback that he's familiar with. The quarterback knows what he can do. They've hooked up for some touchdowns along the way. I think you could be fairly encouraged by Diggs. I just wouldn't expect 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think you can feel okay about Hopkins. I wouldn't expect 9 catches for 120 yards. You're still going to start them. They're still going to be good. They won't be great.
The guy I look at in your rankings, maybe you're a little lower on him, but Jamie has Christian Kirk 12th. You have him 16th. Heath has him 13th. And I wonder, would you drop any of those 3 guys with a backup quarterback, Kupp, Diggs, Hopkins, behind Christian Kirk?
Hopkins, if there's no Kyler. The other 2, no.
I'd consider it with Hopkins, and in non-PPR, I'd consider it with all 3.
Okay. Okay. Like Juju or those guys?
Man, Juju's
I would start Juju over Hopkins in PPR.
If Kyler are out.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So when we go through these games, I don't want to really like rehash this. So just that's your and the other guy, like the Gabe Davises, the Rondale Moore, I guess would be kind of interesting. I don't think we're starting Allen Robinson, but Gabe Davis, Rondale Moore, significant drop in the rank.
I don't know how much it's Kyler's playing.
Okay then. So Gabe Davis, then I know we did this yesterday, but just to put a bow on it, because Josh Allen once again did not practice, and we didn't know that when we recorded yesterday. Where will Gabe Davis be if Allen's out?
Low
183rd.
low end number 3 receiver.
All right. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break.
Matchup's fantastic. I mean, they're beat up in their secondary, so hopefully Case Keenum can get him going if you're stuck.
Could he have an Orchard Park miracle to Gabe Davis? It's possible, but that's like you're starting him with low expectations if you're starting him at all.
Okay, so we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll go through the injuries. We'll go through the beat the waiver wire players for you. We will go through one question for each game, and we'll get into it. We'll be right back on Fantasy Football Today. Your news and notes. So just to recap, Josh Allen missed practice. Matthew Stafford missed practice. Kyler Murray did practice on Thursday. Ryan Tannehill also practiced in full. So we are expecting Ryan Tannehill to play against Denver. Don't start.
So all the quarterbacks, all the stud quarterbacks,
back.
Good injury updates.
Running back news. Jonathan Taylor practiced in full. You guys expect him to go, right?
Yes.
No, practicing full is a terrible sign.
Yeah. Just double checking. And the Raiders linebacking core, talking about this on FFT and 5. Divine Diablo is on IR. Blake Martinez played 90% of the snap, 90+% of the snaps last week. He retired this week. That's kind of just funny to say. I hope everything's okay with him. I'm not sure why he retired.
Can you imagine being a Raiders beat writer yesterday and just the news you got hit with?
Oh, I know. We'll get to that in a second. And Denzel Perryman's beat up, but it looks like he's probably going to play. So it's a great matchup for Taylor. Ezekiel Elliott is questionable. We're going to preview that game pretty soon. We're not sure if he's going to play. Aaron Jones was limited. Same game. We don't know what the running back situation is going to be in Dallas, Green Bay, but Jones has been practicing each of the last 2 days in a limited fashion. Derrick Henry has not been practicing. Are we concerned about this?
He's the same thing the last couple of weeks, so I would say no. But obviously, if he does not practice Friday, he should be a little bit alarmed. But it sounds like it's just been more rest. At this point, they just have to put him in bubble wrap until game day.
They didn't list an actual injury on the injury report. They just said resting player.
Okay. J.D. McKissick missed practice. Kyren Williams could play this week. He's 35% rostered. Wide receiver news. We know that Kenny Golladay and Treylon Burks look, well, we don't know about Burks, but they look like they're coming back this week. Brandon Cooks practice, so he's going to play. Nico Collins was limited. They might have their full arsenal against the Giants for Houston. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams missed practice. We're not expecting them. Jahan Dotson practiced. Mecole Hardman has missed practice now 2 days in a row with an abdomen injury. Jamie, if Mecole Hardman does not play, what does that mean for the rest of the wide receivers for Kansas City?
It means that there's opportunity for either MVS or potentially Kadarius Toney because he kind of fits that mold a little bit more so than MVS does. And so this would be the time to see what he can offer to this offense more so than just, the handful of plays that he had in week 9. But you can't start anybody with any semblance of confidence. It's more, oh my gosh, my team is in dire need of someone, and I picked up Kadarius Toney. Let me see what happens if there is no Hardman. But Friday's practice will kind of tell you where they're at.
And Dave, if we look at tight end news, David Njoku missed practice, but let's go tight end / wide receiver here and talk about the Raiders. So Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow are on IR. And when you step back and look at it, they've gotten nothing from Waller lately, obviously, and they've gotten very little from Renfrow. So, people asking about Morrow and Mac Hollins. And do you recommend adding those guys?
Bye-week replacement types. And in the case of Hollins, you can stash them and see what develops. In the last 3 games, there hasn't been any Waller for those games. Do you know who's second on the Raiders in target share?
Target share? Well, targets.
It could be targets too, obviously.
It's Morrow.
It is.
Yeah.
So I can't help but suggest him as like a bye-week tight end. And, people have been getting by with a different tight end for Waller for a while now. So this isn't some sort of shock. It just sucks that he's not going to be good to go. If you're in I don't know how deep the league has to be. I'm in a 14-team league. I'm not picking him up, but Keelan Cole is probably going to replace Hunter Renfrow in the slot. So he'll get those 5 fantasy points that Hunter Renfrow.
Well, they indicated that Adam's going to play more in the slot.
Okay, so then Cole could play on the outside. It shapes up for Adams to be 10 targets a game.
So Mac Hollins played 2 games already this season without Hunter Renfrow. One was against Tennessee, one was against Denver. So very wide range of spectrum of matchup. Mm-hmm. Against the Titans, week 3, he had 11 targets, 8 catches, 158 yards, and a touchdown. Against the Broncos, which we know they lock down outside receivers, 3 catches, 33 yards, and 5 targets. So 16 targets over 2 games, 11 catches, 180 plus yards, and a touchdown. So take that for what it's worth. This is not the easiest of matchups, but if you look at who the Colts have played, they haven't exactly played world beaters from a passing game standpoint. I think Hollins is 100% worth picking up. I think it's worth looking at him as a number 3 receiver this week if you're stuck. And he may come out of this as the biggest winner because I think just in terms of upside, if he's now the number 1 outside guy, if Adams is now in the slot, Derek Carr's still going to look for him, and hopefully we're looking at maybe 6 to 7 targets per game.
This matchup this week is not good against the Colts. I don't think there's been a single number 2 wide receiver that's had a good game against the Colts. I mean, I'm looking.
But if you go back and look who they've played, I'm in agreement with you. It's not a good matchup. You shouldn't be starting him. But they played Jacksonville twice, and Kirk had 1 good game, 1 bad game. Mm-hmm. They played the Texans twice already, or just once?
They've played the Texans once. They've played the Titans twice.
Yes. Oh, the Titans twice. So there's that passing game. So it's not like they faced a lot of great passing options right now.
The best number 2 receivers they faced were Jerry Jeudy, 53 yards, and Curtis Samuel, 50 yards. And those guys are slot guys. Hollins isn't. But for what it's worth, I don't think there's been a number 2 receiver that's had more than 53 yards against the Colts this year.
And his schedule not easy. After this, they get Denver, then they get Seattle, then the Chargers. So it's not like he's going to have favorable matchups the rest of the way. But still, it's worth your interest if you've been cycling through some of these guys. Like I put him in the same range at this point. Darius Slayton, Donovan Peoples-Jones. I would have said Terrace Marshall before the game, so you don't want to play the outcome there. But those type of guys that you've sort of been seeing what happens, there's an opportunity now for him. The rest of the end of season schedule, depending on how long he's out, is very favorable.
Okay, offensive line and defensive news. The Cardinals' offensive line is such a mess right now. Very, very injured. Keep that in mind. And that's a bad thing for the run game against the Rams.
Yeah.
Defensively, we saw Jason Verrett for the Niners. He hadn't played yet, but he was working his way back, and he tore his Achilles. And it was very sad for them. Didn't see an update on Jeffrey Simmons or Bud Dupree, but
that defense is beat up bad.
Yeah.
Titans defense is beat up bad. And if those guys are out, then Broncos run game could look really, really good this week.
We still don't know about TJ Watt, but I know he's optimistic about playing. Jordan Poyer and Tremaine Edmonds missed practice again for the Bills. Kyer Elam, cornerback, he missed practice, but Dane Jackson was back. Dane Jackson and Matt Milano were making progress. So yeah, those are the big ones. Oh, Arizona safety Budda Baker and cornerback Byron Murphy. They missed practice on Thursday. Those are huge.
Those are their two best defensive backs.
Yeah, we got to pay attention to that for their game against John Wolford and the Rams.
Oh, never mind.